Chuck Holton here. Welcome to the Hot Zone. Thanks for watching. I have today the guy that's been behind the scenes for years, my good friend Dennis. He's a field producer, cameraman, jack of all trades, master of all trades. It's really nice to travel with somebody that A, doesn't need to eat or sleep, B, understands the military mindset. He was a Ranger too. And C, is better at me than at everything I do, except maybe writing or talking on camera.
Two very good points.
So anyway, Dennis and I started working together back in, 2012, I think?
Probably. Yeah, about that.
With the National Rifle Association. Ended up having our show Frontlines together. We did
over 60 episodes,
64 episodes, something like that, of Frontlines. Got to travel all over the world and have a lot of amazing adventures. Then that all came to a screeching halt in 2019 when the NRA, the wheels fell off. And I'm really excited now to have the team back together here in Ukraine, working with Newsmax. So I just thought it'd be fun to reminisce a little bit about what is give me one of the most memorable moments that comes to mind when you think about our time together.
It was probably one of the first times we spoke. You know, we met a couple times at different events, and you know, our old job kind of came to us and said, hey, we're putting a show together, you know, we'd like to have both you guys work on it. And so, you know, I remember getting a call from you. It was probably about a Wednesday. You said to me, hey, it was Wednesday, and you said, hey, can you be in Iraq on Saturday? And I was like baffled. I was like, can I even fly to Iraq? I didn't even know how it would work. And sure enough, I was like, yeah, heck, I'll take the plunge and see how this works. And I met you in Erbil, and
oh, that's right. We went to Sinjar. That was when we went to Sinjar.
Yeah,
Mountain,
and it was just the start of many crazy adventures. But
right, that's right. I forgot all about that one.
Yeah.
That was like our first trip. Do you remember from that trip the feast that sheikh gave us or whatever? He like invited us to lunch, and we thought, yeah, we're gonna go to lunch. We show up at this place. I kid you not, the table was like the size of this room, and there were hundreds of plates of food on there. It was almost like a status symbol to just give you a tsunami of food.
Yeah.
And we were like, what are we supposed to do with all this food? There's only two of us.
Oh, it's crazy.
And they're like, why aren't you eating more? Are you not hungry? It's like, are you killing me?
It was definitely the royal treatment.
And then we got to go out with the Peshmerga and go out to their mountain hideaway where they were having some kind of big event or something.
Yeah, it was their anniversary maybe?
Yeah.
I just remember there being a lot of raw meat being cooked, and you and I were looking at each other like, oh.
And a lot of guys with guns that didn't speak English, and we weren't really positive if they were the good guys or the bad guys at that point.
Yeah, that was an experience for sure.
Yeah, and that was just the start of many. I remember one time actually in Detroit where we were doing I guess it was something about homelessness or something in Detroit. Yeah. And it was like 11 o'clock at night, and we're driving around. And now Dennis grew up on the streets of
Philadelphia, or the city-ish.
In the city anyway. Yeah. So he has a little more street sense than I do. And I'm driving around, it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm like, hey, let's go in this abandoned building. Man, there's just abandoned buildings everywhere. Check out this one right here. Oh man, we could get inside this thing. Maybe this is crazy, but it's 10 o'clock at night. Let's see if we can sneak into this building here real quick. See what it looks like on the inside. This is probably kind of insane to do right about now, but we'll just take a peek inside here and see what it looks like. I've got my flashlight.
The last place you go in the middle of the city.
Right, and it turned out we ran into a whole bunch of homeless people in there, and we did get a good story, but it probably was not the smartest thing that anywhere close to the smartest thing I've done before or since.
Yeah, there's a lot of those moments.
Yeah, that's right. So we ended up in Iraq several times. We ended up in all over Latin America.
Yeah.
Probably one of the most amazing trips we got to take was to Iwo Jima.
That was truly amazing.
I mean, that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Absolutely
Something I've
was.
always
Yeah.
wanted to do. I just remember hiking to the top of Mount Suribachi and launching my drone, and the wind caught it, and it just went boom. And I thought, I'm never seeing that thing again. And it took almost to the end of the battery to get that thing back, you know, against the wind. But it's some of the only, as far as I know to this day, some of the only drone footage of Mount Suribachi.
I never forget how hot that island was. Oh my gosh, I remember getting off the plane and, you know, as usual, I try to over film stuff. So I've got my tripod, my backpack, all my camera lenses and gear. And then they're like, okay, now walk. And it was what, a mile?
2 miles to the other side of the island. Yeah, the Japanese, it's a Japanese military base, so they didn't really want us there, but as part of the treaty agreement between our two countries, they have to give us 1 day a year to come and honor our dead. And so they let you come on the base 1 day a year, but they won't give you any assistance, any help. They're like, if you want to go see something, you got to walk. It's 2 miles to Mount Suribachi and 2 miles back. And we've skipped the whole ceremony and all that. We're like, yeah, forget the ceremony.
Yeah. I think what we have, two hours, 3 hours.
Yeah, it was only
tops.
a few hours, right? So we humped it.
Yeah.
And there's
the time
still
we hit the beach, we immediately had to go right up
up.
the hill.
There's still artifacts everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things they did say was, do not go in any caves. There's still, you know, dozens of miles of caves underneath this island. And the problem was when they were built, they had ventilation, but now they don't. And so methane builds up in there. And when the Marines landed on Iwo Jima, most of them didn't see any of the enemy for quite some time. And that's because even though there were 22 to 23,000 Japanese on the island, they weren't on the island so much as in the island. And that's because they had constructed over 11 miles of caves all throughout the island. Some of these were up to 7 stories tall under Mount Suribachi. So all of the artillery and mortars and bombs from the sky that they dropped on this island really didn't do a whole lot to stop the Japanese. And then next thing you know, we're like 150 feet underground, and we're like, maybe this is not the smartest thing to do.
Yeah, got a little carried away.
We got to interview so many of the veterans that went back, these guys in their 90s that had been there at Iwo Jima. I think that's probably the thing that I'm most grateful for the whole 6 years of the time we worked together was all of the historic people that we got to meet and interview. And I mean, aside from all the cool places we got to go.
Bringing John Perosi back to, I mean, there was some really memorable moments.
Somebody's got to be left behind when you're fighting a war. We all would like to beat the enemy up, go home as one piece, but war is not like that. Heroes under them white crosses, they're the ones that you leave behind.
I just remember him trying to pick up every waitress in every restaurant. He's like, hey, honey, these are jump wings. You can get some of these, you know, you want to learn how?
Yeah.
And it was like, well, he's in his 90s, but he's never given up trying.
That's it. When you're that old, you can say whatever you want.
The opportunity to meet those people, most of whom are now gone.
Yeah.
The first landing started right at 9 o'clock. What they did was let everybody in the first 20 waves about get on the island and up on top, and they mowed them down just like ducks.
And to record their stories for posterity, I think that was a real service. So what has been your sense of what we've seen so far in the couple of trips now we've taken to Ukraine?
Yeah, you know, a lot of it is just making people aware of what's going on here. I think a lot of the American population is forgetting what's going on over here. That it's kind of, you know, we've got other stuff going on in the news cycle, and you know, just keeping the focus and attention on the fact that these guys still are at war, and they're still fighting every day, and they're still, you know, as we talked earlier, it's coming to a stalemate. So there's no advancement, there's no kind of retreating, and so you know, just to make sure these guys get what they need to keep fighting and keep keep progressing into the.
Yeah, I mean, there is a moral element to this that I've talked about a lot on the podcast. That you can argue whether or not the United States needs to be sending billions of dollars that we don't have over here to help these people, but I don't think there's an argument about whether or not that you should support the Ukrainians, because they were not the ones who invaded Russia, and so they automatically have the moral high ground. You've heard, like I have, so many of these conspiracy theories in the States about, well, that place is full of Nazis, it's so corrupt. What's been your sense being here on the ground, as far as how would you answer your friends if they said, I heard that it's a Nazi country? Or
yeah, that couldn't be further from the truth. Those, I equate it to these guys being like Americans. They are super patriotic. They love their country, and they would do anything for it. I mean, whether you talk to people in the military that are fighting right now on the front lines, or civilians back at home, their back line, they're all in. I mean, they're all doing what they can to get this war won and to get the message out.
Right.
And so,
well, not only that, but we've met quite a few people who have suffered greatly, loss of loved ones, loss of homes, loss of livelihoods because of this war. And that's what I always come down to. Is like, I don't care. So yeah, maybe there's some corruption here. Of course, there's corruption in the United States. Corruption everywhere. Yeah. That's the fact that there's corruption in one country does not ipso facto give their neighbor the right to try to destroy their country and take it over.
Right.
But even if that's the case, if there's corruption, that girl we met day before yesterday, whose mother was killed by a sniper, shot right between the eyes as she walked in front of her. She doesn't deserve that. No amount of corruption in her government makes it justified for the Russian sniper to kill that unarmed woman walking down the street.
There's no right.
What's been the most difficult thing for you having to? I mean, of course, we've done this a lot. But does it still affect you? Does it? I mean, we've done a lot of things that are very emotionally draining. But
yeah, I mean, you kind of want to. Like we've talked in the past, I mean, you kind of want to remove yourself from it and kind of not believe you're getting affected by it, but it hits you at different times. Sure, it might, what you see and what you feel might not hit you today, but when you get home and a certain smell or a certain thing, you kind of pops in your head, all of a sudden you kind of get choked up, or you just feel that sense of, wow, I witnessed a lot, and you want to just kind of move on from it.
Does Tracy notice that it takes you a little while to off gas when you get home?
A little bit, yeah. I get home and there's a kind of a decompressed kind of moment, a week or so, where I kind of just want to reflect on what I've done, where I've been, and things I've seen, and kind of.
Connie won't let me drive for at least a week after I get home.
I believe that. Yeah, I believe that.
I know he has to drive with me over here. It's bad enough. We've also, I think, gotten a really. It's been really cool, I think, for the time that we've been able to do all this, that we've had a front row seat to history. We've gotten to learn so much about history by going to the places where it happened. But also, I mean, we've been to Israel a couple times, been to the Middle East, we've been to Europe, we've been to Africa, we've been to just all over the place.
So many places.
Probably 75 or 80 countries together in the last 6 years. Has it given you a better sense of the importance of understanding history, and B, the greatness of America when you come home?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's also given, it's opened my eyes even. I never traveled like this, ever in my life. I've probably been to all 50 states, but never outside the United States as much as we've done in the last 10 or 15 years. And it's an eye-opener, and I enjoy helping people see what I've seen. So, for instance, when I was back home, people were asking me about this war, and like, oh, I can't believe, a war like that would happen in these days. Like, there's wars like that now all over the world. I started telling them about Burma and places like that, and they're they're shocked. Oh, that's going on in Burma right now? Yeah, that's going on right now.
Yeah.
And so just the knowledge of what's happening around the world, because, you know, like most people, I didn't necessarily care what wasn't in my backyard, but now I kind of care a little bit more. I find myself caring more about what's happening internationally than I do nationally sometimes.
Yeah. I think it also makes me sort of a little more, you know, attuned to the fact that the civilization that we enjoy in the United States especially is, there's just this thin veneer of civility, and there's not a lot that separates us in the States from these people here.
This rooftop I'm standing on is only about 2 kilometers from the forward line of troops. The front line's right there in Old Town Marawi behind me. We're hearing bullets go by here right now as I speak, and there's a massive volume of fire and explosions happening behind me. That says that the Philippine Army is trying to end this thing sooner rather than later. There's still a couple hundred ISIS troops that are holding out to the end down there, and it's evident from what we're hearing they are not going down without a fight. That was definitely a round. Oh, okay. This is no joke. We're 2 kilometers from the front lines, and just as I finished that stand-up, we had about 3 rounds come in, I mean, close enough that they hit the rooftop right beside me over there. And we're getting down off this roof right now. It is apparent that perhaps somebody is actually targeting us on this rooftop. I thought we were far enough away from the combat to keep that from happening, but maybe not. I gotta get my bag here. We're getting down off this rooftop right now. You all right? Here, take my bag. Go ahead.
In the right set of political circumstances, and it's usually always political, people can do the most horrific things to each other. And we think that never come to America? I mean, we're just that far away. We're just that far away.
Yep.
And it's made me a lot more, grateful for the country that we live in, for the rule of law that we enjoy, but also a lot more attuned to the fact that it just takes that much to cause something to happen. There are 1,000 things that could happen tomorrow in the United States that could make the United States erupt in violence like we have never seen in our lifetime, and it's something to be prepared for. You've worked very hard to tell the stories that we tell and never compromise on the quality of the product that we put out, and I really appreciate that. I'm the kind of guy that is always, you know, my personality is such that, yeah, good enough, come on, let's just do it. But you're always like, no, we got to do this right, we got to do this right, and it comes out in the end product, and it makes everything we do more impactful for people who watch it, and more important in history, because this is stuff we're making. It's going to be there for posterity. All of the shows that we did are available online, and people can still watch them today. So you know, I appreciate that. I appreciate the hard work.
I feel like if you can add that little bit of extra production value, it'll capture the attention of the people. And
if anything you've taught me in the last 6 years, it's that does make a difference. So I think we work really well together, and I'm really glad to give it a chance to do it some more. I hope we can keep it up.